Hi, this is just an uncharacteristically super quick video from me demonstrating the FM or the polymod section on the Take5. On the Prophet 6 and on the Prophet 5, you've got the polymod sections that will use oscillator 2 to modulate the filter, the shape or the pulse width, and the frequency of oscillator 1. On this, it works slightly differently, and on my quick first impressions walkthrough of it, I couldn't quite work out what was going on with the FM section, and in particular using oscillator 2 as an FM source or a modulation source for anything else in the modulation matrix. So I'm just going to describe it really quickly, and hopefully it will be of use to you. In the mixer section, we've got this FM button, and that essentially gives us two different modes of FM from oscillator 2. When this button's engaged, I'll just put it onto a basic program, just down and -2 octaves gives you the basic program. Now if I engage that button there, that's modulating oscillator 1 with oscillator 2. Really simple. If I take that down, we're not hearing anything. Oscillator 2 doesn't go via the mixer into the amplifier now, it goes via the mixer straight into oscillator 1 as the amount of modulation. So just what you'd expect, but that means that you can never hear oscillator 2 while you're modulating oscillator 1 with it, which is a big difference from the Prophet 5 and the Prophet 6. Big difference, but is it an important one? Just get to that in a minute. But now, if we want to use oscillator 2 as the modulation source for the filter, it comes up as the first modulation source, which is why I was shocked that I couldn't quite get it to work yesterday. Let's just put the resonance up, turn oscillator 1 down. We're now getting audio rate modulation from oscillator 2 of the filter. And that's just listening to the filter. So when we move this knob, we can't hear any difference because we're not listening to oscillator 1, and that's dedicated to sending the signal to oscillator 1. So if you're not listening to oscillator 1, you just can't hear anything. Put oscillator 1 in. So that's mode 1 with the button on. With the button off, which I think is what I was doing yesterday, I'm not getting any modulation no matter how much I put it on to the modulation matrix. And that's because we're in this different mode where we can hear oscillator 2. So we're hearing oscillator 2 there. Let's just put the modulation amount on 0. And now we can hear oscillator 2, and when we bring in the modulation amount, we're not hearing anything if we're not hearing oscillator 2. And that's because the signal's now split between going to the modulation matrix and going to the amplifier. So this knob now interacts with the amount. So increasing this knob here is now increasing the level of oscillator 2 coming out of the amplifier, and also the amount of oscillator 2 going into the mod matrix. So this knob and this knob are now interacting. So now we can hear oscillator 2, we can bring in oscillator 1. And if we say we just detune oscillator 2, take any modulation off. And now we can do a little bit of FM. We can do audio rate sort of FM on the filter rather than FM of oscillator 1. So a little bit like what you can do on the Prophet 8 or the Tempest. So, hope I've not confused people more, but basically the take back from this is two modes. Mode 1 with the light on, you can't hear oscillator 2. Mode 2 with the light off, you can hear oscillator 2, but this knob now interacts with the amount of modulation set in the modulation matrix. And the only thing you can't do that you can do on the Prophet 5 and the Prophet 6 is listen to both oscillators whilst modulating oscillator 1's pitch with oscillator 2, but you can use it listening to both oscillators if you just use the FM on the filter, for example. So you can still get very similar tones. So when at the start I said it's a big difference, but is it an important one? I'm not sure it's important, but it's there. So I hope that was of use because it's not that clear from the manual. And if it was, please think about subscribing, ringing the bell, and also join me over on my Patreon page where I've got hours and hours worth of tutorials. And also it just helps to support the channel. I buy these things, I sell these things, and it costs me money to do it. So it's just nice to get a bit of support. Anyway, see you next time.